sure I'm doing that kind of multitasking right now. But I am going to turn this over to Alecia Matthews, who will further introduce herself and her colleagues who are with us today. There will be time at the end for question and answers. You can even drop your questions in the chat. We will monitor the chat. And we really hope that you will gain something valuable from this information. I'm pretty sure that you will. And I'm going to turn it over to Alecia now. Thank you so much for being here. And Abigail and Ann, thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning, everyone. As Jean said, I'm so glad to be here today. My name is Alecia Matthews, and I work as a part of ncIMPACT Initiative, which is at the School of Government at UNC Chapel Hill. And I brought along two other professionals with me today, Abigail Holdsclaw, also from ncIMPACT, and Ann Bacon from the Community College System Office. We teasingly said we are AAA because you have all presenters whose name begin with the letter A, and we're delighted you're here. We're going to be talking about lessons from the field of how we have developed a course that builds off the backs of others who have built a course similar in nature, but we've been using a partnership to really reach out to disengaged learners. And so we've brought along a presentation slide that I'm going to share slides with you all here. And I'll be popping things in the chat as we go along as well. And then I'll have, when we get to each person's section, I'll make sure they introduce themselves again, just so you can see and get to know them. So let me share my screen. And Abigail, you will be up first.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Well, good morning, everyone. As Alecia said, today we're going to be talking about some things that we've learned from developing this course. So next slide, please, Alecia. We'll first just talk a little bit about the background of our state, our work, and the partnership that ncIMPACT has with the community college system. Talk a little bit about what's different about this course and how we're thinking about this partnership moving forward. So next slide, please. First, a little bit of background. This might be information that a few of you have heard many times, so I apologize if that's the case. But for those who don't know, Our State, Our Work is the first program of Carolina Across 100, which is an initiative at UNC Chapel Hill, led by ncIMPACT, the group that Dr. Matthews and I work for out of the School of Government. And it was meant for the university to respond to challenges created or exacerbated by the pandemic. And so within Carolina Across 100, there are multiple programs. We just launched one focused on affordable housing. We've had one focused on mental health and suicide reduction. But this first program was focused on opportunity youth, so young adults between 16 and 24 years old who were both not in school and not working. And so you'll see from this map in the top right that there were 13 teams covering 37 counties, and they were made up of business, educational, nonprofit, faith-based, government partners. And so there was a diversity of folks that came to this work, but they were all bound by this commitment to participate in an 18-month engagement with us at the School of Government. They learned from our state partners, our school colleagues, and most importantly, perhaps from one another when they came to these in-person learning forums, participated in activities such as strategic planning, asset mapping, etc., to amplify their local impact. And so the active period of this project was from June of 2002 to December of 2022 to December of 2023. And so even though this program ended at the end of that calendar year, the employability course is a direct response to a lot of what we learned during those 18 months from these local teams, their concerns and advice as experts in their own communities and the challenges that young adults were facing. And so next slide, please, Alecia. We were very excited that the North Carolina Community College System partnered with us throughout those 18 months, and then of course beyond through this course. But in helping us respond to the team's requests for information about existing programming, a North Carolina Community College System representative, Barbara Boyce, who you see there in the bottom left, attended in-person learning forums and talked about the availability of a lot of these resources through the system, practical tips for helping young adults access these services. And then the system further demonstrated their commitment to re-engaging opportunity youth. So not just students they're currently serving, but also those who are disengaged, when system president Jeff Cox provided early acceptance certifications to opportunity youth at the event Stories Brought to Life, a statewide summit on opportunity youth in November of 2023. And so this was an event at the Friday Center in Chapel Hill. And as the program concluded, it was a chance for the teams to share through a statewide conference all they had learned, shared their expertise. And so we recognize that this population of young adults faces significant barriers to re-entering education, and these letters allowed them to bypass the application process and costs associated with applying to college, and served as a testament to the confidence that the system has in these young people to contribute both to their local college and to the state in really meaningful ways. And so that's a little bit of background of Carolina Cross 100 and our partnership with the system office. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Matthews to talk about what's different about this course. You're muted, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Abigail, for I'm just chit-chatting away. But I will tell you, as a person who recently completed my doctoral degree, no thing happens in a vacuum all by itself. You build off the work of others. And so in our desire to really meet those needs that Abigail talked about, all of our work came from others. And so I just wanted to take a couple minutes to give a little shout out to those folks. So the content for the course was really informed by our community college partners, as well as the North Carolina DPI's Portrait of a Graduate report. And there's a special shout out to Christy Van Auken especially. And that work that we learned from, it laid out all of the durable skills that are important and would help improve employability prospects for North Carolina youth. Some of the other data we used came from the feedback we got from those Our State, Our Work participants that Abigail described, and focus groups that we had were where are the workers? And we partnered with our colleagues in the Keenan Flagler Business School to just kind of learn more from service providers, opportunity youth themselves, and employers of exactly what information young people needed to feel confident to go into the workplace. And of course, we use feedback from our community college partners as well. So that's where the research for the course with these 7 modules came from. And our partners in actually helping us write the content came from our HRD personnel, Human Resource Development. And they are a wonderful group of professionals who are dedicated to this population of folk. And so we developed this course, and I need to come off sharing my screen for just a minute to pop an item in the chat. I'm going to put 2 websites here into the chat for you, because we're going to be looking at it during my few slides here. The first item I have put into the chat for you is called the 7 Steps to Get Hired. It tells you a little bit more about the course and what learners see when they attempt to sign up for the course. And I'm also going to put in the chat a demo that we're going to talk through how you might use this particular course to engage learners in talking about work-based learning opportunities and how to develop some of those skills. So those are the 2 items we'll be chatting through. But let me get back to my slides before we do that. Okay. So what makes this course a little bit different from what we had in the past is it is a completely online course. So it is accessible to any learner from 100 counties, and it is hosted currently on the community college's what they call the VLC site, which is the Virtual Learning Center. So all learners have access to this at no cost to themselves. There initially was a credentialing process where they could get an industry standard credential from Microsoft. That has concluded. Microsoft gave us 100 opportunities for this group of students to get information about AI, to get industry standard credential. And we gave out all 100 of those codes. And we also used innovative recruitment. So we worked with a local company here in North Carolina to actually try to find the youth. We have found in our work with working with this population, there is a reason people say they are disengaged. It is hard to find them and to get them to complete something like this kind of course. So we have been very, very innovative in working to target these young people using social media ads. And so that first link that I gave you where it talks about the 7 steps courses, let me just show you what the learner would receive once they found an ad through social media. So give me a second, I'll share that with you. So what would happen, the learner would get targeted from the ad and have information and say, this sounds like something I'm interested in. And so they would find out that they could sign up for the course. All they needed to do was to provide their name and email address as well as their county. And the reason we collected that data is because this particular project was funded by a generous donor, the Golden Leaf Foundation, and they wanted to see where the young people were coming from. So when the learner signed up on this landing page, they would then be redirected to the actual course. Now, when in the chat before you all leave today, I will give you some instructions in case you want to share that with this with at-risk youth at your schools. I'll share with you how young people get access right into the course, as well as share this demo site that we're going to talk about here in just a second. So that's how young people got to the site. And the coolest thing is, in addition to signing up for the course, that was one piece we used, but we also had workforce development specialists in their area who could offer and talk with the young people about additional services that would help them as well in gaining employment, housing, or whatever special services that they provided as well. So that's what we found worked quite well with engaging with this population. Now, the next thing I want to talk a little bit about is the course content. So if you'll follow me into that website that I shared with you, where it says Module 2. And let's talk through how this course is really set up and how you might find it helpful as well. So this is a demo that we share with instructors. This isn't one you will share with your learners. The learners are actually going to go and get the live piece, but this is morely designed for you to take a look at. So this particular course for the demo is set up in a learning management system called Canvas. And what I'd like you to do is see if you can follow me in the left nav where it says modules. And I just want to talk about module 2. while I enjoy all of these modules, they all have wonderful opportunities for young people to learn about the workplace. This is one of my favorite modules. Follow me to Module 2, and let's talk about how the course is set up. So there are 3 big areas with each of the modules. There are 7 modules. They are designed for 90 minutes per learner. I will tell you, my son is a senior in high school, and he said, I don't spend 90 minutes doing that, Mom. I'm going to spend 60 minutes. So what we're hearing from young people, while we have built it as 90 minutes, most young people are using it for about 60 minutes. Now, there are 3 components in each section. There's a section called Explore, Dive In, and then Walk the Path. And all of these items are designed to help learners scaffold what's happening here. So that first section, for example, I'm in lesson 3 of this, and it's called Working with Others. And so what happens during the Explore section is that learners are taught a lot of the principles. They're taught about some of the topic areas we're going to cover. And then in the Dive In section, they're allowed to practice these skills. And of course, when you're trying to do it live, you're getting lots of issues here. I wonder if I'm hitting issues because I issued it all to you all and now there are too many sessions open. I suspect that's what happened. Here we go. Okay, so the Explore section, here the learners get an opportunity to do some pre-work. In other words, we get to see what it is that they say they know. And then after they do that, we offer them opportunities to reflect. There is a personalized journal where learners can input content in as they go along. But what I want to show you is after this Explore section, there are lots of different ways that they can practice. There's lots of interactive kind of clickable items for the learner. But what I want to get you to is the dive in area. And so this is really my favorite section of all the modules, is this opportunity for them to practice how to do these kinds of things. So for example, there's a practice. We have the task at hand is to help Sydney deal with a messy manager. And what the scenario is, Sydney just started her new job and she's trying to settle in. She's a young person just like them. And after about 2 weeks on the job, the manager starts bad mouthing another teammate. So here we're asking the young people to think about, based on this idea, the whole theme of the chapter or the module is managing yourself and working with your team. How do you manage through this? And so what we envision you can do as the educator is that you can, from the demo, you could pull out things you want to do with your class or your learners and have them work as a cohort to kind of talk through these kinds of issues that emerge in the course. And at the end of the session, we can kind of hear maybe some of your ideas of how you think your students would respond to helping Sydney figure out what's the best way to manage this. So At the end of all 7 of the modules, the learners then can earn a certificate that is signed off by workforce development folks, that is signed off by the community college and signed off by us, that really speaks to them having that confidence level built to understand all of the wonderful complexity, well, I should say a lot of the information that is happening for their workforce employability. I'm not sure I told you all 7. I told you module 2 was my favorite. It's managing yourself and working with your team. But these are actually the 7 modules. Communication, critical thinking, adaptability, and empathy. And then 3 modules on getting the job. We spend a lot of time making sure they understand how to develop a resume, how to work and how to submit an application, and how to actually interview and prepare for the job. So all of these skills are all about helping young people. Our target audience, like I mentioned to you, are those young people who are at risk. And I'm pleased to share with you all, I have been working this past week emailing all of the superintendents for all 100 counties to see if they would be willing to share this course with their learners who they think could benefit from this kind of a course. So I will stop right there with the demo. And I will now turn it over to my colleague, Anne, who will talk about partnerships and how we're planning to sustain this course once our pilot season with ncIMPACT concludes. And if you'll give me just a minute to get my slides back up, it'll be your turn.
Well, I so greatly appreciate it. And I was admiring as you were going through this and sharing your screen and sharing links, um, your your durable skills in being able to manage technology and manage when technology the first time doesn't work. So anyway, you are living the dream. Um,
Yes.
so very nice to be here today. Again, my name is Ann Bacon. I work in the area of the community college system office, our central office, that is about short-term training. And under that area, which is called Workforce Continuing Education, is the Human Resource Development Program, which is the programming that you all may be aware of. But if you're not, it is used in a lot of flexible ways with community colleges. And the idea is to provide employability skills, intro to technology, and that kind of thing. So we were delighted that ncIMPACT was working on this initiative. We also, just to go a little farther back, Abigail had talked, I believe, about kind of the start of this project, but kind of in a parallel way, a number of years ago, our president was teaming up with the county commissioners in the state, and they had a major focus on disconnected youth, opportunity youth. I'm not sure what term they used, but so this is on our mind. We have tools at the community college system, but what I think is really remarkable is that this particular tool really allows us to engage with partners in new ways, and this really focuses on a younger population, and the online component is really impressive. I'll also just say a quick shout out, because prior to working in this particular area of the community college system, I used to be on the CTE team with Dr. Bob Witchker and the fabulous team there. And I also, in my volunteer time, serve as our Business Alliance chair at South Garner High School. So I see CDC efforts, I see CTE in the public schools, and I just continue to be amazed at all the creative things that I see both locally and at the state level. What I love about this partnership also with ncIMPACT is it really is very community focused, and in their work with the different community organizations, they really were looking to communities to kind of take ownership. So going to the next slide, some of the things, so Dr. Matthews had already talked about some of the unique aspects of the course. As we go forward, she had mentioned, or Abigail had mentioned, that it was some of our HRD instructors who were part of the kind of module development team that worked on the modules. So this is very exciting to us. I think about half of our HRD or more of our HRD leadership team was actually part of that effort. So they're very excited about it. And as was already mentioned, we are planning on ongoing course access through our virtual learning center. We already have some of the folks who were involved with the module development who are already adapting some of the content for their own use in existing community college courses. So it's both a standalone course by itself that doesn't require much extra resource, which I know schools are always, I know funding is always tight, time is always tight, staffing is always tight. And so it's nice to have that standalone course that one can simply refer people to and support in whatever scale you can for them to go through that, encourage, etc. But it is nice to just have that link you can share. And then there is that other option of really kind of borrowing big chunks of the content to weave into existing courses. There are some phenomenal scenarios in the course. There's one where you see two young people driving in their car and they're talking about a change in work process. They both work at the same job, and one of them's like, oh, I can't believe we have to change what we're doing. And the other one is like, no, I think it'll be good. And, it could be really good for you personally as well if you really kind of lean into this change. And it's about a growth mindset. It's about being open to change. It's part of that adaptability. But the scenarios are real. There's another scenario that's really funny about somebody who is at their apartment with their roommate, kind of talking about, well, I want to apply at the coffee shop, and they're kind of encouraged to say they have more experience than they do, but then they go into the interview and they're put on the spot to show their experience. So that's a great lesson, but they seem like believable scenarios, and just are a lot of fun, colorful, etc. As we go forward, we're also looking, this Human Resource Development Advisory Board is exploring other ways they can use this. They are, for example, right now is an exciting time with AI, and we all are being called upon to change and adjust. And one of the things we see in our community college research and our experts and our futurists talk about the skills that are going to be particularly important as we go forward in the era of AI. And it really comes down to, when you look at the list, Our mouths were open. We're hanging open because we looked at this presentation at our system conference, and it was so many of these durable skills that are going to make the difference when, in many cases, for example, paralegals, there may be far fewer paralegals because AI is going to be able to do a lot of the technical work of finding what needs to be changed, for example, in a will. But it's those durable skills, those interpersonal skills, and communication skills. All of those skills are going to be what sets apart individuals, so that when employers kind of adjust the ratio of staff to technology, they are the ones who will be successful. So it comes at a great time. Next slide. Yes. So I think it was already mentioned that there is a larger ecosystem that we are excited that you all could be part of. I was really excited to hear about the outreach to the superintendents. I'm trying to figure out how I can be a little bit of a cheerleader in my business alliance role. Can I advocate? And thank you, Amy. I see your note in the chat, but can I advocate for this kind of tool and this specific tool to be used and shared more across the system? We have somebody on our business alliance who is an expert at working with disconnected or opportunity youth. And so I'm going to put this in his hands specifically, and see if he can kind of explore what he might be able to do with this. That is his particular niche he has carved out for himself. And one of the things that's so important is because well, let me back up. I've been to some presentations recently about young people these days, and I don't want to be one of those people who says, oh, the young people of today. But we do know that there is a segment of our young people that is maybe not as engaged, not getting driver's licenses, not doing work, which is why I appreciate so much what you all are doing in work-based learning. And so we at the community college system can't help people if they don't come to us. The definition of opportunity youth is those that are neither in a work situation nor in an education situation. And so we really rely on the groups that are on the left, some public schools, and your ability to catch those at-promised students, those students who may be partially engaged but don't have a plan for after high school necessarily. We need to reach out to our workforce boards and youth and community-based organizations, and some of those groups were involved in the pilot. But I really do think that this is hopefully the start of a conversation with you all at the public schools and with our larger ecosystem to figure out kind of where can this fit, where can we get the message and the modules out so that students will come to one of our educational systems. And by the way, I also want to acknowledge there may be some private schools out there as well. I'm partially a product of a private school as well, so I not, you know, and it may, whether it's in North Carolina or outside, we need students who will come to us and already be at least willing to hear the message of, yes, it's not just about education. It's about understanding how to work and being willing to kind of work on yourself as you go forward. So I think the next slide, I will turn it back to, I don't know if that is Dr. Matthews or Abigail.
Yes, I can jump in here. I haven't been keeping up with the chat. Are there any questions in the chat before I do this? Let's see. Good. Oh, so good.
No questions in the chat, but one of our, James did say that they are running that program this semester in their school system.
You know, it's reaching already. I just got in touch.
That's
I am so jazzed. Thank you, James. You made my day. This is great. So our questions is what needs do you see this project meeting? I'd just be eager to hear from you all how you think you might be able to use it with your young people who are at risk. And you can type it in the chat if you don't want to come off mute. That's no problem. Or
Yes, you guys are more than welcome to come off mute to make your comment. Jenny Kincaid from Caldwell County said this is awesome. She met with a lady by the name of Maddie Shell from Burke County about NC Works, the Next Gen program last week, and said this would be great for their CIS students at risk and work-based learning students.
this is
Um,
great.
one of the things I kind of mentioned earlier, that is one of the standards in many of our courses that students can apply these skills. When we are launching our students out into their placement settings, some of them may have enough social capital that they're actually okay and they're ready, whereas others may need a little bit more prompting, a little bit more encouragement, a little more teaching in that area. So this also would be another good tool to kind of embed in maybe in your course orientation. Maybe it's that you do a class period with those students, but I think you can figure out different ways to embed this course into like just your whole work-based learning program of work. We also have Amy Paula Castro Schrader, who is my colleague. She is our career development coordinator for the state, and we are like this. We are partners. I don't like to say in crime, but I'll say partners in investment for our students. Um, but we both talk about the importance of durable employability skills, and she does some work with this also. So Amy, if you want to say anything or add anything, please feel free to jump in if you'd like to.
Good morning. Thanks, Jean. Partner in crime is true, and everybody on this call is our partner in crime, right? Thank you so much
Mhm.
for extending the invitation for me to be in the audience today. I'm thrilled with the resources and all that's going on with ncIMPACT to help our students. Thank you. Just thank you. It's a great way to kick off the year. Look forward to more opportunities for partnerships.
James, will you type what school district you are from in the chat? Edgecombe County. Okay. I had a question. The Dr. Matthews, you mentioned you gave us access to the demo. There were a couple people that could not get on. Is it because it's a demo? So, like, if students were actually in the module, they wouldn't necessarily have some of the technical issues. Like, there's not a limit to the number in. Okay.
Correct. And thank you for saying that, Jean. I popped into the chat a couple items. The first is the link where the young people are going to go and register to sign up for the course. It won't take them long. Item 2 is the video that the VLC produced. That's a voiceover that lets them hear, hey, buddy, here's how you sign up. Now, I will tell you in my experience, young people don't need it as much. I needed it more than they did. When my son saw it, he was like, oh, this is easy. But for me, I needed an instructional video. But just in case you have learners who this is not intuitive for them, item 2 is for them to watch the video. And then the demo, hopefully it will work. I think I hit that error where I had too many folks on there and Canvas was being weird, but no one else has complained of an issue and you all will be using it individually. And the reason I wanted you to have the demo is because what we're finding is some groups decide to do it as a cohort. And so then you could pull out, for example, the messy manager scenario and talk to the young people about that. And it just is another way that everybody's kind of doing it. Everybody's working toward that goal. And then they have people to bounce ideas off. They have ways to practice the skills, which is ideally what we would want. So that's phenomenal. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jean, for making that clarification.
Well, another thing about having the demo, which is great for me, for the most part, before I would have students complete any task or assignment, I always wanted to do it myself just so I could see what it looks like and be able to articulate or estimate any questions that they might have in advance. So thank you for providing that. Are there any other questions, you guys?
Just from my own level of curiosity, I'd love to hear what would you expect your learners to say about how to resolve the messy manager situation? That's my favorite one. So tell me, what do you think your learners are going to say are ways that they could resolve this issue? Because it's making them uncomfortable.
I think that we need to take this course. That's a hard one. I mean, there
Yeah,
really are some thorny issues we can sometimes run
correct.
into.
Correct, correct. So this is great. This has been awesome, and I really hope that you all will you be able to utilize this resource with your young people. It is self-paced, but again, that cohort model might be something you might consider. And before I turn it back over to Jean, Abigail, or Ann, did you either of you have any comments you wanted to make?
I'm just going to repeat back what you all have said, which is thank you. And we're happy to be in partnership with you all, especially as the course moves into this sustainability phase through the community college. It'll just be so great to have folks like yourself connecting students who need it and could benefit from it. So thank you. And thank you for hosting us today. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
And I'll just add, thank you for letting us be part of this. And if there are ways we should be connecting dots, I think, for example, we would love to know which public school systems are engaging with this. I will also just say that our president at the community college system, Dr. Cox, is himself a former superintendent. And so great appreciation from him. And I also want to thank my colleagues with ncIMPACT and Jean.
Well, I thank you guys for coming on and sharing. I will say that Amy and I did share this information in our respective Moodles where our work-based learning and career development coordinators receive information. We posted this early on when we first got the information out there, and we're hoping by hosting you here and then providing this video recording that people will really be able to see the value in this information and be able to take it and incorporate it into their career development and work-based learning efforts going forward. So thank you for coming here today and sharing. Um, all of this information, the background behind how it came into be and what it looks like going forward. We definitely appreciate all of you guys, Dr. Matthews, Miss Bacon, Miss Holdsclaw. Thank you guys very much. And thank you for all of you who joined us today. So hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week and hope that 2025 brings you an abundance of blessings, personally and professionally. Thank you
That's
guys
great.
very much.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.